Here again with Greg Martin of R Programming 101. And in this segment, we like to get together and talk about some of the things we've learned lately in our favorite programming language, R. How you doing, Greg?
Great, Andrew. Good to see you, and always good to be here with you. I always learn a lot from you.
Same
These
here.
sessions are some of my favorite, and I know the people that watch my channel watch your channel. So let's do this.
Yeah, we always say we're going to do this more, and then it always ends up being just that the craziness of life gets in the way, and we only get to do it a few times a year. So we'll once again say let's do it more often.
Definitely.
What are you going to show us today?
Well, let me just share my screen, and there's something quite exciting I want to share with you. Okay, so we've talked before about Quarto, and what I've got on the screen at the moment is on the left-hand side, there's code, and actually
Mhm.
there's more than code, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. And on the right-hand side, there's an HTML output. And this is the
Oh,
beauty of
nice.
Quarto. Quarto is, and I don't know if we've said this in our conversations, but I know both of us have talked about Quarto on our respective channels. Quarto is like a text editor that you can add chunks of R code into, and that R code will render into HTML or a Word document or a PDF or whatever output you want, even a PowerPoint presentation. Now, here on the left-hand side, we've got an example of Quarto. And I'm working in RStudio, by the way, if it doesn't look
Oh,
familiar.
nice.
It's just a little different from the way RStudio usually looks. At the top, there's just, it says the title of this is tutorial. My name's the author, the format HTML. That could be PDF, that could be a Word document. And then there's this reference.bib, and you're going to understand exactly why I've got that there a little later, because we've actually got a bibliography that Quarto can create, which I love. Okay, here, this is how it just works like a regular word processor. We've typed in, I've got a heading, YouTube lesson, collaboration, boom shakalaka. Now, you can see on the right-hand side, it's similar. This is the rendered version of this, and it's turned it into an HTML file.
Love it.
And there's a little difference. And you can see here, I've got some code in a chunk,
Hmm.
and it's library tidyverse. So this is, we would usually do this when we write code. We say we're using the tidyverse set of packages. But you're not seeing that on the right-hand side in the rendered document. And the reason you're not seeing it is this clever little bit of code up here that you put just after the R, echo equals false, which means it's not gonna put the code that you've typed in into the document that you're rendering. You might want that code in there, in which case you don't put in echo equals false. And then message equals false, it basically, and I'm going to illustrate what this does. Because when you run code often in the console, it'll give you messaging.
Yep.
If I delete this, I'm going to delete all of that, and I'm going to re-render this, and you'll see in a few seconds on the right-hand side, it creates a new version of this HTML document, but without those two little qualifiers, and you can see now it's included the code and it's included a message. Okay, so that's a nice example of how those two little qualifiers work. Next thing, I've got, let's create a graphic and give it a label and a caption. Okay, so here's the graphic that we're going to create. Again, we've said echo equals false, message equals false. Now I've got label equals fig dash Star Wars. I'm just going to call this figure Star Wars, but the label is important because later on in our document, we're going to be able to refer to the same figure and have an HTML link that'll take us back to that figure anywhere in the document. So that's a really nice little feature. And then fig.cap, this is just a caption that you're going to put at the bottom of the figure, relationship between height and mass of Star Wars characters. And here you go. Here it renders Star Wars characters. At the top of this is the heading that I just created in the code itself, but the caption at the bottom, figure one, relationship between height and mass of Star Wars characters. And there's this little figure that I've drawn. I'm not going to go through this R code now, because this lesson isn't about ggplot, but happy days, we love ggplot. Then I say, we're going to add in some meaningless text, and I've just got some
Yep.
jibber jabber, jibber jabber, jibber jabber, jibber jabber. And down here, I've got, let's make a reference to at, and then Fig Star Wars. Remember we had that label a little earlier? So in the rendered document, if I scroll down past the jibber jabber, here you go, figure one. So Quarto knows that this is the first of our figures. So it's given it a numeric value. And if I created another figure, it would call it figure two, et cetera, et cetera. And if you moved them around in the document, it would always keep the order right. So now if I click on this is a hyperlink, takes us back to that particular figure. So you can imagine in a large document, that is an incredibly useful feature. And the
Yeah.
last thing I want to show you is some more meaningless text, jibber jabber, jibber jabber. I want to add some references. So if I wanted to add some citations to academic papers, it's as easy as you pop them in there. And I'll actually show you, it's super easy. I'll add another one at the end over here.
Yeah.
And it's really as easy as insert,
Yep.
and we can go to citation. I would use PubMed because I'm in the medical field. I might do a search for, I'll put in my name
That's great.
and global health. And so, and you can put in obviously a more complicated,
That's amazing.
search than that. And then you select this. Now I need to get a little bit of space here, so I can push the little plus button, push plus, insert, and it's popped that reference in there. Okay, and then when we render this, you can see if we go to the bottom, it's got those citations. I haven't re-rendered, so you haven't seen the new one that I popped in there, but the old ones, old ones, it pops them into a reference or a bibliography right at the bottom. Boom shakalaka, absolutely gorgeous. So that's my short introduction to Quarto. I absolutely love it. It means it is what we call sort of a replicatable document.
Yeah.
You can create one report, and as your data gets updated, you just push render, and the entire thing gets updated with the graphics and the tables and everything that you want pointed at the new set of data, but all of the text, et cetera, is standardized. So absolutely love it.
I love that so much. I have one collaborator in field botany because my primary work is in floristic quality, and he's working in Word documents all the time and managing
Mhm.
his references just manually and thinking
Oh,
about,
hard
APA
work.
style or Chicago style or whatever, and what gets italicized and what doesn't. And I haven't tried to think about those things in years because things like R and LaTeX will handle that kind of typesetting for you, and all you
Yeah.
have to think about is who's the author, who is the
Mm,
what is the journal, and
exactly.
so on. Now,
Exactly.
here's the really important question, Greg. Do you speak Latin?
I do not.
Where's this Latin? Where's the Latin coming from? I've seen this before, I think.
Which Latin is this?
Well,
This
if you
is
go back to your
oh
space filling stuff, the lorem ipsum.
oh, you know what that is? You can if you do a Google search for meaningless text,
Yeah.
it will produce as much as you want. You can ask it for as much as you want. I just asked for one paragraph and I just
Okay.
pasted it again and again and again. But you can ask for any amount of meaningless text,
Yeah.
and it's just a filler. It's great. It's I didn't even know if it was Latin or if it's just uh
I I'm pretty sure it's Latin. I've seen this before in LaTeX documents. It is also that exact paragraph is used as filler in
yeah.
like journal templates that you'll see. And I'm trying to think where else. I at one point I looked up what it was and I just don't remember. Somebody will put it in the comments and let us
There's a
know
word for it. Yeah,
where it
there's a word
comes
for it.
from.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a quote from somebody and it's meaningless text. Yeah,
Meaningless
absolutely.
text. Exactly.
Cool
Okay, I'm
stuff.
gonna push stop sharing
Okay. And
and
maybe I'll show you something that I've
yeah,
been playing with lately. If I can find my share screen button, there it is. And we'll go over to our studio here if I can find that now. Are you
okay.
seeing my screen there?
I am indeed.
All right, great. So, like you said a moment ago, we've both been doing some vids on Quarto lately, which is really exciting because there's so much power there and so much flexibility. Um, I'm currently putting together one on dashboards, which is something that Quarto does pretty well and very easily. But I want to show you another thing that I figured out lately or that I discovered lately. I'm going to just start a new project and I'm in the wrong place. I've got to go up to my file menu to new project. And you can pick new directory or existing directory, but down here, just sort of hidden at the bottom for your options for a new project is Quarto Book. And I
Nice.
thought that's kind of cool that there's just built-in options for making a larger piece of text that's going to have chapters, maybe a reference file, table of contents, all of these different things. And
Very cool.
so I'll call this my book. And we'll just go ahead and start this. Ordinarily, I would do a Git repository. I'm not as big a fan of the visual editor as some. I think that's personal taste, but we'll go ahead and do that. And that'll take just 1 second to get up there. And it's going to look a little different than some of the other Quarto things we've worked on. You're going to
Mhm,
get a few different things. First of all, you'll notice we've got a bunch of different files here.
mhm.
And within the individual Quarto documents, we're missing our usual preamble, our usual YAML header. And the reason
Uh-huh.
is because we have a whole file for that, and that's this underscore Quarto YML. And within this usual YAML header, where you can set all your usual options, like we can change our author to Andrew and Greg, for instance, you've got just lists of chapters, and then you'll have a file for each one of those. So,
Nice.
for instance, index is opened automatically by default, and that's your preface, and that's where you can put all of sort of your front matter. Um, we also have chapters, in this case, by default, intro and summary, and then some references at the end.
And
And
presumably
you
you
can
can
just
just add
render any
add as many chapters as you want.
and I'll actually add a new one in just a second. And if we can just hit render, we're actually going to get a nice little output file in here in just a second. I'll reshare once that comes out. Once I can find the button. There it is. And you can
Yeah,
see you've got your different chapters here: introductory,
yeah,
summary, preface, references.
yeah.
And then you can just click on any of those to go to whichever one you want.
And it's got all the features of Quarto. And just talking about saving and rendering, I think that there is a setting in RStudio that
Oh,
can allow you
yes.
to automatically save when you render.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. And you can see there's the render on save. Because
Yeah,
I'm zoomed
yeah,
in,
yeah,
it's not all written out, but yes, it is save on render. Render
yeah.
on save.
Brilliant, brilliant. So here's
So
a suggestion, and oh, well,
yeah.
carry on, keep
Oh
going.
yeah, I was just, it's I was just gonna add a chapter, but I don't think it's something you particularly need to see. You
Yeah,
just go ahead and put in, my new
next
chapter,
chapter, whatever,
dot
chapter two.
QMD,
And you've got a new
find the
chapter.
D button, and we'll remember to save it because you're right, that was the issue. That's why it still said Nora Jones. And
Yeah,
then you just, make a new Quarto document called my dash chapter.
my dash chapter.
And
Right,
you don't even need a YAML header in there, and it's all gonna render just like you would want it.
amazing.
And you can see you've got your bibliography file here. You can pick your format, and just sort of all your usual YAML header options can go in here. Anyway,
Nice, nice.
I think it's really cool for larger projects if you ever
Well,
have that need.
he has a suggestion, Andrew. Let's write a book. You and me. I
Oh,
mean, we both
man.
love R. We love the content. We have a lot of fun doing this. Let's do it.
I feel like that could go a lot of different directions, man. What are you thinking? What do you think should be in let's say in a first book?
Well, I like the way you're thinking, Andrew. I like the way you're thinking. The one thing I know about both of us is we love the tidyverse. So this whole tidyverse way of thinking,
Yeah.
an approach to data. And I'd say like a nice starting point would be sort of an introductory. This is sort of the basics of how to approach data and how to use some of these
Oh, I
tidyverse
like that.
packages to manage your data, create good visualization, bit of the data wrangling side of things. What do you think?
Yeah. I love it. I particularly like how I mean, first of all, yes to all of that, but I like how you homed
Okay.
in on data because I would want this to be sort of data first because I think there's a lot of our viewers, a lot of people out there that are working with data, it just in their
Yeah,
work, whether it's in public
yeah,
health or whatever, business, whatever it might be, and just want to be able to do it a little better. They
yeah,
don't necessarily want to be like programmers, but they want enough to get
exactly.
stuff done.
Not everyone is a coder. And there's a lot of people using R that are other things. I mean, I'm a good example. I'm a medical doctor. I work in
Yeah.
public health. And yet I love coding,
Yep.
but I'm never going to be a super duper
Yeah.
expert. But I hope to be as good as you one day, Andrew.
Huh.
Uh,
I I was just about to say how non-expert I am also. I mean, my background is in
we're not
math,
selling our book
which
here.
sounds like statistics, and I don't have formal training in R
Yeah,
either. And so just like you, I'm kind of learning it as I go
learning as you go.
for everything I want to do.
Well, talking about data, and by the way, I love the idea of a book, so let's do this.
Yeah, let's do this.
And a nice thing to build into the book is let's use for all of the examples in the book, let's use data sets that are built into R. So
Yeah,
if
or
anybody
or at
reading the
least
book,
accessible from sort of
accessible through a
publicly
package,
available
right?
open packages. I
Yeah,
wouldn't want to have to post and maintain like Excel spreadsheets on a website, even a GitHub.
exactly.
I
So
think
if you
it'd be
want to,
nice if people could just hit the ground running.
if people reading the book want to replicate and practice the examples that are in the book. All they got to do is it might be already there
Yeah,
in RStudio or part of a package. And like for example, when you install Tidyverse, Boom Shakalaka, a whole lot of
you get a
extra
lot.
data sets just get stuck in
Yeah.
there, which are great to
I
practice.
I hope we can get a balance between something that you can, that you could read on the bus or the tube or whatever, and something that
Yes, that's nice.
then you get home and you pull out your laptop and you actually run the examples. I'd like to have something that's readable but has enough
Yeah,
depth where people can really
great.
dive in and get
I like it.
something that is that even goes beyond the stuff that we cover in our sort of 5 to 10 minute videos.
Yeah, perfect. So
Sounds exciting.
if you're watching this video and you think a book from Andrew and myself is a good idea, put something in the comments. Say
Yeah.
yes, say double thumbs up, boom shakalaka, and we will get we will
Yeah,
write
I
the
would
book.
also love to hear what people are particularly interested in having in a book like this. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got some ideas. I think they're good ones, but I mean,
Mm.
it's the readers, the potential readers that,
Yeah, and I liked what you said earlier in a first book, because maybe
yeah,
we just
we
do a
can,
whole bunch. I mean,
yeah,
I love the idea of working with you on this, Andrew. So,
yeah.
um,
We'll
yeah,
talk about
high
this
five.
more. Great.
Okay.
All right, Greg, always a pleasure. Everybody check out our Programming 101, fantastic our YouTube channel.
Yeah,
And
and check out Equitable Equations, where Andrew has his content. Absolutely love it. You'll learn a lot
always a pleasure seeing you, Greg. Let's talk offline about this idea you've got.
about the book.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's do it.
take care. Good to
All
see
right.
you, Andrew.